is Carley Garcia. I run the Entrepreneurship Center at Montclair State University. I'm also a resident of Montclair, 11 years. My husband grew up here, and I am very invested in what's happening with small businesses in general, and especially in this moment. Wanted to just quickly orient everyone to all the participants on this call and ask folks to mute themselves in the bottom left-hand corner and also stop your video. It's the button next to mute. This will let our series of panelists present themselves as they're talking and not necessarily distract others with the video view. So if you wouldn't mind going ahead to do that. When you're at the bottom of your screen, you'll also see that there is a chat feature. We are going to use today's discussion, as we have the last two discussions, to surface questions through chat. So if you click on it, you will see a chat box open up. I have done a test chat. Luck has responded to it, so hopefully you'll see that. And as you have a question that comes up for one of our panelists, you can enter it there. You can use the drop-down box to enter it to one of us directly, or you can use the drop-down box to click everyone, and we'll make sure to surface those. So as I mentioned, my name is Carley. I am at the State University. I'm also a resident. This is our third installment of Montclair Mondays in partnership with the Montclair Center BID, Jason Gleason. Thank you for being a partner on it. And also Petya Morozov, founder of DesignShed that runs Montclair Design Week. We really felt like there was a lot of information to bring the small business community, specifically in Montclair. We had a session on state and federal aid. We also have had a session around rent and overhead, and this week is around rethinking business as usual. So really sort of pivoting in this moment to serve customers and being innovative and thinking about sort of how to change a business model on the fly. So I am going to introduce all of our panelists and talk a little bit about format, and then begin the facilitation, and then hand the second portion of it off to Jason Gleason. So I'm joined by Brad Finkel, founder of Hoboken Farms, and also Steve Prato, who is the founder of Joe Tea and Chips Company. And they have a really interesting no contact home delivery business that they've literally just launched on the fly, HoJo Home Delivery. Brad's vodka sauce is the best in town. Steve's half and half is the summer drink. It's truly my summer drink. So I'm going to be talking with them in a few minutes. But before I do, let me also introduce Jason Gleason, Executive Director of the Montclair Center BID. Jason is going to be talking with Dan and Luck, local business owners, Annie Ramen and also Montclair Vegan, after the fact about some really innovative things that they've done, transforming a business into a nonprofit, shifting into a bit of a co-opt partnership. We sent out some pre-reading, so hopefully you saw that in my email or the email that came from the BID. So let's get started. I also want to make one note. So as a woman, this is an all-male panel. That will not happen again. I'm taking ownership of that because I put the panel together with Jason, and we're both very conscious that we don't always do that, but somehow we ended up in this moment, and we didn't want to delay the conversation. So I just wanted folks to know that I was very acutely aware of that. So shifting to Brad and also Steve. So I would ask, let's start with Brad. Brad's had a really special connection to our center. He has had family members who have graduated from Montclair State. Tell us quickly about your primary business, about Hoboken Farms, just in 3 or 4 sentences. And I would ask Steve to do the same. And then I'd love for you both to kind of talk about this joint venture. But Brad, let me give you the floor first.
Good afternoon, everybody. So Hoboken Farms, since 1992, we participate in about 800 individual farm markets per year. That's about over 20,000 in total. We also sell our pasta sauce nationally in stores like Whole Foods, ShopRite, King's, Bed Bath & Beyond, and lots of other supermarkets nationally.
Hey, Steve, tell us about Joe Tea and Chips.
Joe Tea, yeah. Joe Tea was started from the trunk of the car about 20 some odd years ago with $1,000 and an idea to get into the beverage business. For about 10 years, we didn't progress much further than that. And then a few lucky things happened to us. We continued working rather hard. And today we ship HoJo tea probably to about 20 countries around the world, have a warehouse in Europe, and just go about our business every day with the idea that it is business as unusual all the time as opposed to just now. And that's the best way to prepare for circumstances like now.
For sure. So both of you are really accomplished entrepreneurs. You also both happen to live in Montclair. So tell us a little bit about how you met each other and then how this HoJo home delivery, was sort of born between the two of you. How did you come up with this?
I'm going to start on how we met each other. My brother-in-law, we were upstate New York, and my brother-in-law happened to pull up this potato chip bag and said, "Hey, this is a cool truck just like your cool truck." I said, "That's true. It most certainly is." And I looked and it said Montclair, New Jersey. And I thought, hey, I'm moving to Montclair. I should probably know these people. So I literally just called up and said, "My name is Brad. I have a company called Hoboken Farms. We should probably know each other." And Steve was nice enough to call me back. And he has been counsel to me. We have had lunch, many times over at Toast Restaurant or Mish Mish. And, that's literally how I said hello and he said, hello back. That's my version of it.
And we were speaking a couple of Fridays ago, and I think we both anticipated an immediate slack in our businesses. March kind of went along and it just looked like April was going to fall off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And, Brad and I had grown comfortable enough with each other that when we had a Friday conversation and the idea came up, what about a home delivery concept, which is essentially going to where the customers are, which is something that I once did years ago when I realized a lot of people left for the summer, and I said, where'd they go? They went down the shore. So I kind of sent HoJo tea down the shore. I mean, I think in both of our thoughts, we said, well, everyone's home. Why don't we go figure out if we can develop something to go to their homes? So we basically put together an 8-day flash plan, which didn't involve so much writing a business plan, but just implementing that which we kind of just instinctively knew.
So tell us more on that. So how does it actually work? 8 days is a pretty quick turnaround. How have you sort of partnered on this delivery?
Well, companies have core competencies that are perhaps their own secret sauce that they might be uncomfortable sharing. And I think what happened was Brad and I put both of our secret sauce into the middle of our business and essentially created a joint venture, uncapitalized, because we each had infrastructure of our own and inventory of our own and contacts of our own, that could really be a rolling start. And it's really like living a plan more than it is planning a plan. And it's a couple of entrepreneurs just jumping off a cliff together and making it up on the way down. And I think that's the most exciting part of being an entrepreneur. And both Brad and I, and I'm not going to speak for him, but we're probably enjoying our current time more than the more peaceful time of all of a month ago or so.
My wife said to me that I seem much more enthused and kind of vigorous, even though I'm waking up at 3 o'clock every single morning. I'm enthused to be able to get out there. Steve came up with this term that I have stolen for myself, which is, building the plane while you're flying the plane. And that's really what this has been and what it's felt like. Every move is just yes, 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 thinking it, feeling it, doing it.
Mm-hmm. So for folks on the call who are sort of eager to either find a partner like you two have found in each other, or think about pivoting their business in this moment, what have been sort of the key learnings for you about this? Clearly one of them, I think, is just jump in. You both just kind of said this. But is there anything else that you've learned about kind of getting this going that others can apply to their own businesses right now?
Brad?
For what I've learned, I've never had a partner before. And I've always said, hey, if I find the right person, I'm excited for it. But, maybe, the person that's offered to you is the right person. And it just happened to be that I feel this has been really lucky. If I didn't say yes, if I said, let me think about it, let me kind of consult my attorney or talk to my accountant, that would have been it. We basically both said, spit on our hands, okay, shake, and we're off. That was my biggest learning experience, is to just say yes fearlessly, which is the way that I did it when I started my business. I mean, I'm kind of impressed that you had $1,000 when you started, Steve. Right.
Well, we've done this with $1.98, which we're proud of as well. So I think to do it the way we've done it, you have to be willing to put trust in someone. And while Brad and I were business friends, we've not been social friends. It's not like we have been best friends. We kind of developed, I think, a mutual respect for each other. We've had a lot of shared experiences, and we've been long-term entrepreneurs. So in the case of kind of mashing up our two companies, we were well prepared to do it. I don't know that there's so many similar situations like that, other than if people in the audience can imagine who they could mash up with to create a unique opportunity. So we've been sort of working at a mad pace. Now, I've been waking up at 3 a.m. for 20 years, so I'm happy Brad has now joined me, and he's on the 3 a.m. thing. There's one thing about being entrepreneurs. You can always work harder than the other guys are working. And when I coach baseball, I used to tell kids, you may not be the best hitter, the best thrower, whatever, but you can be the best hustler out there, and you can run out the grounders, and things can happen. So, we are hustlers, Brad and I. Things don't just fall in your lap. You've got to make things happen.
Yeah, I love that analogy. One thing you both reminded me of is that both of your primary businesses sell to Kings and to Whole Foods. Would this have worked if you didn't have those customers in common? Would you have still found ways to collaborate?
Well, we first collaborated around Brad's sandwich shop in Summit. So I think had we had slightly different sets of customers, we would still have found enough in common. And we don't have exactly, the same match in customers. The nature of the beverage business is going to have a lot more grab and go kind of activity. So we may be in a lot of bagel stores and delis and pizza. Pasta sauce will primarily be in the supermarkets, and then Brad is very active, in the farm markets. So we don't have a perfect overlap, but what we do have is, comparable business judgment, and it's almost like a hand in glove kind of situation. When you have a partner that you can just grunt at a little bit instead of having to, make an absolute case for everything. I mean, you just kind of nod and charge. That's kind of the way sometimes you have to do things.
Yeah, that's great. Brad, any additional thoughts on that?
I think Steve pretty much covered that.
You were shaking your head.
You know,
Okay.
Well, I would say that there is a sport of sorts, which is just kind of like extreme entrepreneuring, where you don't accept anything as an excuse. And you can assume away certain things. Now, I'm not saying you're going to develop the next supercomputer with no capital, but there are many businesses where people think you need money to do it. And if you can be clever, you may be able to do it with far less money than is commonly believed. And both Brad and I are bootstrap entrepreneurs. Both of our companies are just bootstrap ventures, our primary business. And this is the ultimate bootstrap, which kind of takes the cascade of our other businesses into this.
So one of the other things that I started my business as a home delivery business to put myself through Ramapo College. I couldn't get into Montclair, right? You know, there was nothing for advertising. It was knocking on doors. Hi, my name is Brad. I live over in Hoboken, New Jersey. I deliver, you know, food to a lot of your neighbors. Maybe you'd like to see what I have. And that's the way that I put myself through college. That then transitioned to farm markets. So this, you know, that's also an extreme sense of entrepreneurship, right? Going out there every single day to not just move product, but to delight customers and have them come back. On Shopify that we use for our back end, today at about 2 o'clock, we got an order from Deborah. Deborah was a little girl when I delivered to her and her mother 25 years ago, right? So it's amazing how, you know, how this goes, right? And, you know, being in the food business, we're based on reorders, right? If somebody tastes Joe Tea and they're not in love with it, they're not going to buy Joe Tea again. You know, Steve moves his business farther and farther and bigger because he has a fantastic product. Same thing with Hoboken Farms. I think that that's one of the main things that we marry, is that Steve knows I'm never going to put anything out that's not fantastic, and I know he won't deliver anything, you know, less than fantastic as well.
Yeah, that's great. I have one more question specifically for Brad, although I would love Steve's opinion too. But before I ask it, I would just remind all of you to surface your own questions in the chat box, and we'll make sure to have them addressed before we shift over to Jason and the others. Brad, I think you've been an innovator around sort of engaging and empowering your employees for a long time. You paid employees $15 an hour as a minimum wage before it was even required by law as a minimum wage. And I think we're not even there yet in New Jersey. I think it comes into place in 2022.
That's right.
One thing you had said that I thought could be relevant for the group was around really kind of optimizing your employees, thinking about in this moment when there are different needs perhaps than their original job requirement or job skill set, in terms of kind of, you know, asking those employees to rise to the occasion to do something else or giving them a new opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about how that's worked for Hoboken Farms? Because I think that's really interesting. People here may be wanting to keep their employees employed, but the business landscape looks really different.
You know, for me, and I know for Steve as well, it's all about cross training, right? So if I have somebody who works in the warehouse, I want them to also know what it is to be able to work in the farm markets, right? If I have somebody who works in the farm markets, hey, you should know what it's like to pull some orders, get in the van, make some deliveries. I had to reach out to a bunch of my employees that are used to going out and for years underneath farm markets, underneath tents, and say, you're now going to come into the warehouse and we're going to basically fulfill orders, pick and pack. This is a new skill set, but you have responsibilities to your families. I feel responsibilities to you. We're going to do this together, and we're going to get through this, and hopefully at the end of it, have something glorious for all of us. You know, one of our main, one of the kind of the shining stars in our day is we have an intern from Montclair named Candace, and Candace, you know, started this semester, and very quickly her responsibilities have changed. She was going and working in Whole Foods, and she was working at farm markets, and she was doing social media, and all of a sudden Whole Foods stopped all demos and farm markets stopped all sales. And now she is in every single morning and picking and packing and, you know, doing anything she can and fulfilling orders. And she just says, yes, 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 yes. It's important to be able to invest in those people, and I generally find that they return the favor.
Yeah. Wow. She sounds like an entrepreneur herself.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great. Okay, it's a quiet bunch, but we do have one question from the chat before we turn it over to our other panelists. What longer term trends are you preparing your business to encounter when we come out of the current climate? This has been discussed a lot, right? We're sort of in this moment, but we will come out of it. And there are going to be a lot of realities, people hesitant to go out of their homes after being sheltered for so long. Any guidance, you know, from your perspective on those longer term trends that you're preparing for?
Well, in our business case, I think we also need to prepare for whatever the shorter term trend is, because we're building a business that we went into not knowing whether it would be a pop-up business that served an immediate need that would then go away, or whether it would be a sustainable business. So we have to be able to pivot again, either way that this situation evolves. So in the longer term, you could perhaps say we have hedged our businesses. So we now have another path that we can follow should it prove to be a viable path. Alternatively, we have our existing businesses that really were not contemplating doing this. So
yeah,
longer term, I mean, long term, we can see the demographics of America going toward older people, and we have identified, you know, numerous of our customers being older, and I would think that demographic would be in place. So as we start looking at the business, you know, as a business as opposed to just diving into it, we can start seeing some dynamics that might allow us to, you know, clearly grow it over a longer period of time. Brad?
Yeah, I also think that some of the larger dynamics is kind of the change very quickly in credit terms that are happening from the supply chain, right? So I know that I've limited my credit to my customers. My suppliers have basically said, listen, you know, you were once at 45, now you're at 30, right? The people that pay quicker get are going to get the product when things are tight. And I've seen that kind of, you know, very, very quickly kind of, you know, whittle its way down, specifically in the food business in New York that, you know, is deeply entrenched in the restaurant trade.
Yeah.
There is a lot of counterparty risk in all kinds of businesses now. If somebody owes you money, or if you owe somebody money, it's not. I mean, the whole point of this is it's not business as usual. So the whole world of liquidity or lack thereof, or companies that are just bleeding out, I mean, it's a treacherous game right now.
Yeah. Really helpful. We so appreciate your perspectives. Steve Prato from Joe T, and also Brad Finkel from Hoboken Farms. Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to shift over to Jason Gleason. I would ask if Brad and Steve can join, just mute and turn off our video if you don't mind. We hope you'll stay with us. And I'm going to shift it over to Jason when he's off mute and on video so that he can facilitate the next part of our discussion. Go ahead, Jason.
Hi. You guys hear me all right? Yes.
I can hear you.
I'll take that as a yes. Thank you all for coming here today and joining us for the Montclair Mondays. Thank you, Carley. Thank you, Patia. This has been a really, really great project. I'm really glad that we've been able to put our heads together and provide this. When we started this thing, it was kind of like, let's get information to people as quickly as possible. And I'm happy to say that it's sort of turned into this really great sort of entrepreneurial therapy session every week, if you will. I see so many people's names on the screen who are just really fabulous, inspiring entrepreneurs around Montclair, and I'm happy for the community. Today I've got two special gents with me who have done really cool things with their businesses. I've got Sarabhayavanija and Mr. Dan Rivas, Luck from Ani Ramen, and Dan from Montclair Vegan. Dan, I know that you had sent me a text this morning, which was really encouraging, saying that you're having an incredibly busy day.
Yeah, man, I got my fucking dad. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that word.
Hey,
for me because I can't work right now. I'm doing the meeting. Let me give you my little speech. I got a couple speaking points. I didn't mean to say that word. I apologize. But basically, I think adaptability and creativity is what's going to get us through this time. Basically, what I did right now was I made a co-op business model flip. And that was, I mean, it's a temporary flip. I don't plan on running my business as a co-op, but in the meantime, that's the only way that I'm going to be able to pay for my employees, the supplies, and the rent. And the point that I really wanted to try to drive home with you guys is that I think you need to support your neighbors and collaborate. And that's what I've been doing. Like Just Jake's is right next door to us. They had vegan burgers there, and I bought all of their burgers. And I was like, if you need them, you need them. But I was like, I don't think you're selling them. And they were like, okay, we'll sell them to you. I was like, and we're gonna sell them. So, you know what I'm saying? And I'd also like to give Brad Finkel a shout out because I went through the Montclair State University Entrepreneurship program as well. And he had an excellent, he did a great job with everything. And, you know, he has awesome sauce. Hoboken Farms is great. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to make it through this entire meeting because I got to get back in the kitchen to cook. But, you know, I just wanted to be here for this.
Great. Can you hang out for just a few in case we get a question or two?
I probably got 15 minutes left in me.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, listen, let's move over to Luck then. Thank you. I'm sure there'll be some specific questions that come in.
Cheers.
So Luck, I know I've heard all sorts of great things about this pivot that you're sort of making in real time here. Can you tell us a little bit about Ani Ramen and what's going on over there right now?
Absolutely. So right before we closed our doors on March 9th, March 13th or 14th, a few days later, we realized we had a lot of inventory left and we wanted to do something with it. In the restaurant industry, you know, we all have family meal, which is such an important part of service. Family meal, for those that don't know, is a time where we all get together, we eat right before service and we review the night. For us, we wanted to do one last family meal for Ani Ramen, and we looked down throughout all of our locations. We realized that we had enough for more than our staff, more than 200, for about 1,000 meals. And then we just kept on growing with that. We reached out to Sun Noodle, we reached out to all of our vendors, our suppliers, our purveyors, and they all kind of chipped in, and we wound up giving out 15,000 meals on the 19th to ramen lovers, to our staff members, to displaced hospitality workers, and really all those in need. And the very next day, we kind of hit like, you know, we're like hospitality addicts. We just kind of hit, it was rock bottom. We wanted to do more. We couldn't just wait for the government bailout or the green light for when we can operate again. And for us, it was really tough because we don't do takeout delivery. So we made a choice as a company to pivot to a nonprofit. So as of right now, we are a full nonprofit 501c3 restaurant. And all of our proceeds go back to providing more meals for first responders and really to all those in need. First responders first and foremost, because, you know, I'm pretty sure everyone in here has friends and family that work at a hospital, and you've probably heard all the nightmare stories already, but it's unreal what's going on at the hospitals. You know, they're working 14-hour shifts. The cafeterias aren't fully stocked. You know, we're trying to do our part just to really take a little bit of the weight off your shoulders after working that shift. And we're doing so the only way kind of we know how is to provide meals. And that's what we pivoted to.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you have a new concept opening this Friday?
This Friday, yeah. We pivoted to Rock City Pizza Company, Detroit style pizzeria, and also Bang Bang Chicken, which is a Thai rotisserie concept. These are two comfort foods we feel at this time we can meet the demands of takeout and delivery for everybody. We're selling, our menu is at a reduced rate. It's not one that a restaurant typically would price at. Most restaurants operate at 25 to 30% cost of goods. This one for us is closer to 40 to 50%. And then on top of that, we're offering, once you check out, we're hoping that, you know, if you're able to give back, we're hoping that you give back with an open heart. And when you check out, you'll have an opportunity to donate a pie for a first responder, for someone in need, for only $6. And that's for a whole pie. And then for a whole family meal, chicken for $4, it's $9. So we're giving it away basically at cost. And the idea is that at the end of every night, there'll be a little ticker. It says, Montclair, we love you. You donated 100 pies and 100 chickens. And we'll be giving out to the local hospitals. And then also in Montclair, we're also going to be setting curbside pickup. You'll be able to walk by and pick up a chicken or pick up a pie, no questions asked, and keep walking.
That's amazing. Now this 45% profit margin, obviously this was, you know, coming from restaurant world myself, that's a bit of a pill to swallow. Would you say that, you know, sort of your motive for taking it on the chin there like that, was really about keeping your business afloat during the time period? Or would you say it's more of a sort of communal vibe?
It's communal, but that's really what Ani is. And that's really for any local business, small business, any operator, restaurateur will tell you that the more you give back to your community, the more the community gives back to you. So for us, it was really, I'd say 3 different parts. First part was definitely to get our staff, to keep our doors open, to give our staff some jobs. Letting go of 200 people and calling each and every single person was not easy to do. Second, once our eyes were open to our first responders and to see their working conditions and what they had to go through, we knew we had to give back in any way we knew how. And last but not least, the community that supported us throughout these past 6 years. In every single town that we're in, there are a lot of people that lost their jobs, and no one should be choosing between bills, food, utilities, right? So like I said, this is our way of saying, guys, let us take 1 or 2 pounds off your shoulders. And if we all chip in just a little bit, once we're able to go back to quote unquote normal, it'll be a lot lighter lift. It doesn't have to be as heavy if we all chip in.
Sure. And again, Sherry here is telling you, way to be a social entrepreneur. I agree. Pivoting back to sort of Steve and Brad's, well, I think it was Steve's and then Brad stole it. I'm going to steal it now too, because it's a really great analogy, but this whole building the plane while flying, you know, I think that goes obviously it speaks to the entrepreneurial spirit, obviously. We're never done working. But how many people do you have building the plane while it's flying, I think is a really sort of important concept, and really the impetus for these conversations. So that's amazing. I encourage everyone who's watching here, obviously, to look around on the screen and see some of these names. And as I believe Brad was saying too, you know, maybe there's somebody's name or face here who is sparking new opportunities, new collaborations, new ideas. Montclair is obviously a really, really interesting, very communally connected place, and I've been very encouraged and inspired lately to see how many people are coming together.
Absolutely, Jason. You know, you said it best. In any moment of decision, who was this? Blanking out. Teddy Roosevelt. any moment decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. So as a community right now, really support one another and small businesses. I had a conversation with Jason earlier, and we were talking about what we can do to give back to all of our small businesses. And for myself, having businesses in all different towns, right now what I'm doing is I'm limiting all businesses within the town only. So for instance, we have a print shop that we go to in Jersey City. We have vendors we use in Summit. We have others in Maplewood. But for our Montclair location, we're only going to be doing business with those vendors that, if we can, in Montclair only. So go into your local print shop, using local designers, videographers, photographers. Your town needs your help right now. So this is the time and the opportunity as entrepreneurs we have out there to not charge full price for our services, come together and form an alliance, perhaps discount our services, but support one another. Mm-hmm. So we're not going out of town or out of state and supporting another business just to save 5%.
Absolutely. I love that. Now, I have a question for the both of you, actually. Dan, let's pivot back to you quick, because I know you got a role. Can you come back on the screen?
Yeah, I'm back here. What's up?
All righty. So what are you doing with your employees? This is a question in the thread here. What are you doing with your employees, and do you have the same staff, or how is it modified if it's
actually different? No, it's my band. I'm in a band, and my band is running the restaurant now because all of the employees quit. So I have my band running the restaurant, and I'm giving them basically a percentage of sales. We're stockholders, and I'm taking 2 shares and they get 1 share. And that's pretty much how this is a temporary Band-Aid for the fix. This is not like, this is not how I'm going to be running the place for, forever. But in the meantime, this is the way that we're going to be able to afford to, get the supplies, pay the employees, and pay the rent. Because, the rent in Montclair isn't cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you've changed your employee base dramatically. Luck, how about you?
We let go of 98% of our staff, and we're only going to be able to hire and retain probably an additional rehire back 25 to 30%. It's just not sustainable. And we get it. We understand. If you're home and you have loved ones that are younger or older, you live in a house and you're at high risk, we don't expect you to come in. It's been a little bit more challenging and difficult with unemployment kicking in, and plus the new benefit. It's tough for those to want to come out of their house and make less, if not the same amount of, and to volunteer their time when they could just stay at home. So anybody you see at any of our locations, if you're picking up, please wave, smile, say thank you. They're really donating their time. We have staff members right now that are going to be delivering and cooking, and they've done the math, and some of them are making less from coming to work than they are. And it is a nonprofit. So as a company, we have to come out of pocket to make sure they're taken care of. But like I said, if they're breaking even coming to work as opposed to just staying home.
So would you say, I guess this is to the two of you, this federal $600 extra benefit has been sort of a deterrence or a detriment to you getting employees hired back? Obviously there's the health aspect that's very concerning here too, with the whole shelter in place and keeping everybody home. I know that that's a big portion of it, both risk for yourself as an employer and then also risk for your employees coming back. But would you say that that extra $600 a week from the feds is kind of what's making it very difficult for you to hire back?
I don't think that it's going to help anything at all. $1,000 a week isn't going to help me. You know what I mean?
Personally, I was speaking more about your employees, like you as an employer trying to hire back your employees.
Well, I'm saying if they were to give me $1,000 a week, it wouldn't really do anything for me. It wouldn't really be that helpful. I need more than that. We have, the rent here is very expensive. Having employees is very expensive, and buying food is very expensive. So these are, what I'm saying? Like these are like $1,000 a week isn't helping me. $600 a week definitely isn't helping me.
I guess what I was trying to say though, is the $600 a week for your employees on unemployment hurting you in terms
It's
of?
definitely hurting a lot of small. It's definitely hurting a lot of small businesses for sure, and we understand why. You know, if when you do the math and your employer asks you to come to work for the same amount of hours and you're making more from staying at home, why would anyone risk their health, right? And then if that goes back to the frontline workers of saying thank you to them, the fact that they are risking their health and doing their job without raises, it's unbelievable. You know, Dan can tell you the precautions that our restaurants are taking now. It's unbelievable. Like you walk into any of our locations, it looks like it's a dental office or a doctor's office. You come in, you get your shoes, the war zone. It's unbelievable. You get shoe covers, you disinfect. We have UV lights. We take temperatures before you come in on digital read thermometers. If you have any signs, if you're symptomatic, you're not allowed to work. It's been an unreal pivot, but you know, you have to do your part to keep the community safe.
Cool. So thank you too. I don't know if there's any more. Let me check this sidebar here, see if we got any more questions for you guys. Dan, you spoke about your co-op model there. Let me just ask, so what have you guys, so obviously everyone's thinking on the fly here, right? That's sort of been this,
Gotta adapt, yes.
You know, have to adapt. Those who have this sort of, most of us on the phone here, this entrepreneurial spirit, sort of have that mindset, I suppose, within us from the get-go. But what have you had the chance to take a look, and what have you learned? What have you learned through this process of adapting and pivoting very quickly and having to think on your feet? Obviously, none of these are going to be perfect fixes. We don't know exactly what is happening or what's being forecasted in front of us. Things still are changing day to day and seem to be happening at relative light speed. But what have you had the chance, when you have that sort of shower light bulb moment, or that you know, can't fall asleep at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking about, what have you learned? You know,
what I would say is that I think in this time, it's time to reflect and figure out, you know, what you need to do. I think a lot of people, I mean, although I do not agree with Trump and I don't agree with any of this stuff, people are not living essentially. They're living on credit cards and they're living beyond their means. And that's not the way that I live. You know what I mean? So I think that that's sort of part of this, is that you need to live within your means. And I mean, you know, take it or leave it. It's not, you know, a lot of people aren't going to want to hear that. But, you know, living off of credit cards is not the way to live. That's what I got to say.
Sure. Luck?
Right now, for us, what I've learned is, you know, as we're going out and trying to get sponsors for our startup and trying to collaborate with different entrepreneurs, different businesses, what I've learned during this time is that the squeaky wheel really gets the oil. Like, now is the time to ask for help. Now is the time to collaborate. I've reached 10x more people that I've knocked on doors for years that have never answered my emails or texts. We know what you're doing. We're all home. We're in the same boat. Now is the time to get out there and to throw it against the wall to see what sticks. We have to go back to what started us off at Entrepreneurs. Majority of us on here started off with an idea and a concept, and we grinded away until we made it reality. And along the way, we've built a team, but to get back to where it all started, to get back to day one, is where everyone needs to be right now. And there is no shortage of great ideas. It's just the amount of people that execute. Now is the time to really put something forward. And the amount of work you can get done at this time as a side hustle, it's equivalent to having 2 years worth of work. You know, everybody who has a plan, a side business plan, gets to work on the weekends. You have 7 days a week now to really put some of that into reality.
Yes. Seven, not only 7 days a week, but, you know, I guess Steve had stated Joe T was started with $1,000. Well, we all just got 1,200. So go start a new company, right?
Yeah.
Perfect timing. I have a question here for Luck. Turning into a nonprofit is exactly the opposite of a business. Will you continue the nonprofit once this is all over? And does the nonprofit model allow you to pay the fixed expenses that you have?
Yeah, you know, the nonprofit model, I get a lot of people have been asking that, how it's the opposite of business, but it's very much still a well-oiled machine. It's a very tough business to run. The nonprofit part of it is just, we're no longer taking our profits and distributing to our investors or to ourselves. It's going back. Our profits are going back into the community. It's going back into providing more meals. So we're paying for all of our fixed costs. We're paying for all labor. We're paying for all of our COGS. We're just, instead of making that 10 to 15% profit margin, like I said, that's all being pumped back into buying more meals for those in need. So the nonprofit is just a way for anybody to donate, for us to receive donations. If you remove that nonprofit, essentially you could run your own business, provide the service, give up your salaries. It's what, you know, our directors and our members did, the owners, and we would just put it back into the company. You'll find that you're able to still operate your business if you change your model a little bit. You know, we can't sell $14 bowls of artisanal ramen for takeout, so we just have to pivot. And if you're not a restaurant, I'm seeing some other questions here.
Yep.
There are a way to, unless you're doing an in-person service, you can offer your services right now, and a lot of your fixed costs are down. You know, before we launched our nonprofit, we weren't paying rent. We weren't paying a lot of our fixed costs. So therefore, we were able to offer a product for much less than what you normally do for your business. And that's what I was talking to you about, Jason, before, is now is the time to see what your business offers. And if you aren't able to sell or offer a product or service during this time, is to piggyback off of your first concept to see if there's anything that can complement that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I had a great time talking to you guys. I gotta go wash dishes in the kitchen. I gotta get out of here. I had an excellent time talking to you, and you're more than welcome to email me with any questions. We can talk about whatever you want. I gotta get out of here. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So look, I guess I have another specific question for you then too. And I think this kind of goes to Natalie Haddad's question as well, about, you know, outside of the restaurant biz. Let's just talk about marketing for a second. Obviously, everyone's in a huge scramble to go online, right? That's the part of the new norm, is we're going to be doing tons of commerce online. How has your marketing efforts shifted? I know you're kind of a whiz when it comes to marketing. I'm not asking you to share any of your Ani trade secrets or anything like that. But have you noticed that you have not only the need, but have you been engaging in new marketing techniques, specifically with sort of gathering people online? I know that's new for you too, obviously, because Ani Ramen did not do online.
It is. We've been more engaged than ever before. You know, we have a social media manager that used to handle most of our messages coming in, but now that I went back to the beginning, you know, the first year of Ani Ramen in Montclair, from 2014 to, I'd say, midway to 2015. Anybody that's gone to the restaurant knows I've served you, I've taken care of your table, and I've answered all emails and all direct messages, and we've gotten back to that. So we switch it up with our management team right now, and we answer all of our messages directly. If someone says that's a great idea, we look into people's profiles. You know, we have the followers, but we deep dive into them. You know, when someone comments, when someone's engaging with you, you have to engage back and really go for it. I've seen so many, you know, business operators make the mistake of posting something up and not replying to someone's comments, or not replying to a direct message, or not even liking it. We reply to every single person, and we direct message them to find out if there's any way we can work together. And there's a very small hit rate, but it's still a hit rate, right? We have less than 10%, but because of, I'll give you an example, our campaign, we were raising funds for restaurant equipment. We've been working with one supplier for the past 7 years, and we never thought that we'd pivot from them because they treated us so well. We had somebody reach out and say, hey, you guys doing pizza? We have some pizza ovens we'd like to donate to this cause. And then that opened up the whole door of what else can we give to them? And it's a two-way street between the exposure they get from aligning themselves with someone who's giving back to the community and us receiving a product. We no longer have to spend that $15,000 on an oven. That $15,000 goes to $3 per meal. We can give away 5,000 additional meals right now. We're starting off on April 24th with a lot of momentum behind us. I think we have close to 7,500 meals that are sponsored already. Like in no other time can we open a restaurant and have 7,500 meals ready, prepaid for, you know?
No, definitely not. Yeah, and to your point, I mean, this whole this social entrepreneurialism, and this sort of those who are getting in the community, and sort of aligning themselves with other things that are going on. I mean, there is strength in numbers. And again, like I said, the Montclair community, there are so many entrepreneurs. It's great that we're banding.
Think about how many businesses are in Montclair. Tag your local friends, tag your neighbors. You don't operate on the street by yourself. You know, whoever you're with, whoever your friends are, they're all going through the same thing. I constantly have Zoom meeting calls with not just the restaurant industry, but outside of design, production, everything. And we meet and we brainstorm, and some of the best ideas have come from different operators not in my industry, and taking and applying to what I do. So if you don't do restaurants, if you're operating any other business, don't be afraid to reach out to other business owners to find out what they're doing. If you see and like what they're doing on social media, everyone will open up their hearts to you. There's not a single person that I haven't spoken to offline that has reached out, and this is, I mean it. Reach out through any social media, reach out, email me. Like, my door's open. We're here to try to help the community right now. We're not looking to reopen and have in Montclair that's at 50 or 75% occupancy down Gleason or anywhere up in Montclair, anywhere. We want to reopen and see all the same familiar faces that we saw when we were opening up our shops in the morning.
I agree with you. I mean, for me anyways, the most productive conversations that I've had, both, physically and spiritually, have started with an email that was as simple as, how can I help? And I think that's, I love what you guys are doing over there. I think it's really fabulous.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we're kind of starting to run out of time here. Carley, we're done at 3:30.
We are. We could probably take one more question, I think, from the chat. There are a few that have popped up here, Jason.
Okay.
Well, one that came up to me, you're looking at a lot, so I'll just raise one that was interesting.
Sure.
How non-food businesses may be pivoting. And this we talked about a little bit last week, and I think it's worth discussion here. Would be curious, Luck's perspective. He's a lot of knowledge here, especially about social media and kind of brand building. For a non-essential business that's closed, I mean, any thoughts on how they can pivot, just based on what you know from the food space?
It's about getting eyes on your business. The one thing I learned from Ani is working on your business as opposed to working in your business are two different things. I started off as the busser, runner, server, floor manager, owner of Ani Ramen. And that was great. And I truly love it. And it's till this day, that's my passion. But when you're working in your business, you can't work on your business. Now is the time that you have to work on it. If you're no longer going to the stores and opening up, you have to spend that amount of time working on getting eyes on your business. And it has to be on every social platform. You have to continually post. You have to be commenting on. Most people don't know that Ani Ramen, between myself, my business partners, my staff, we are commenting 50 to 100 times a day. We're looking at all the other businesses. We're supporting other businesses. We repost more stories and tag other businesses in the area than more than anyone. And it's not because we have that many friends. We started off not knowing anybody in Montclair. You have to support your neighbors. You have to repost. You have to engage, because you might only have 500 followers, but the impressions you get and from following and commenting on others, you're putting yourself in front of a totally new customer base. There are a lot of people on here, and I see them by name, and I know a lot of their business, but there's some that I don't at all. I'd love to know more about it. How am I going to know more about your company at a time of survival when I am 10, 12 hours down in my computer trying to launch my business? The only time that we're going to engage is if you engage on our social media platform or if you reach out. And that's what we do. It's like I said, we're up to, I'd probably say, if conservatively, about 2,000 messages a week to different businesses.
And that's different. That's new for you?
No, we've always been doing this. We started off in Montclair. That's how we started off. We started off because we had 2 people in our restaurant the first 4 hours, and I said, "Damn it, we're gonna fail." So I started walking to other the bookstore, the print shop, Studio 042. We started walking to different restaurants. That's how I met you, Jason. I walked into Pig. I introduced myself. That's how I met a lot of our regulars. You walk in, you introduce yourself. You can't do that right now. So you have to find other ways to engage, and other ways to advertise. We spend more money right now on Facebook, Instagram ads than we ever have. You know, this is the time to, if you do have a budget, that's the time to spend. And whoever you're advertising with, everything has changed, whether it's radio, whether it's print, whether it's TV, it's media. All the rates that they were sending you prior should be cut in half, should be cut down by 75%. This is the time to really invest into your business.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. I love that you just said that. I just want to reiterate for folks the phrase you just coined, which is on your business versus in your business, and how sort of different they are. Thank you for raising that. Jason, was there anything else you wanted to bring up here? There are a few other comments.
Well, no, I think that's great. And I guess maybe would be piggybacking on what Luck would say with this sort of like, I don't know if it's like stepping out of your comfort zone in terms of like, you know, like you were saying, Luck, it was very comfortable. You walk in, you say, hi, I'm a happy person. You know, you're a very personable guy. I am too. We hit it off right away. I do that kind of thing with a lot of the businesses that I go visit too. I guess it's a bit of a mind shift though now, because it's not so much stepping out of your comfort zone. It's more like accepting the fact that we're all in discomfort zone. You know what I mean? Like, and instead of sort of like sitting in the corner and doing a woe is me moment, which we're all having, and I'm guilty too, that come in waves, obviously. Sort of just accepting the fact that, you know, we're at a really opportune moment right now. Like, opportunity is the word that just keeps buzzing around my brain. And it even was, oddly beforehand, Petya, I know you can attest to this. That was my big word that I drew as for the Montclair Design Week this year, was opportunity. We've got an amazing moment right now. It doesn't seem amazing to everybody, but the idea that like we, as this Montclair community, I'm speaking to everyone who's on this call right now, we have a unique opportunity here to decide what the new norm is rather than sit around and wait for it. We can design what the new norm is, and we can design it for ourselves personally. We can design it for our business community. None of these things are going to take place though without this sort of facilitation of communication with each other, talking with each other. You know, we are all getting, you know, we all have these same opportunities. We're all feeling these very similar ways: happiness, dread, everything that goes in between. But I'm really, really happy and feel fortunate to be able to have these conversations, especially weekly now, because I think it's really the most important thing. Nobody knows, nobody's got the answer. Nobody's got a silver bullet here. Nobody knows what's happening next month. Nobody knows if on, you know, May 15th, they're going to say, hey, June 15th now. I mean, it's uncharted waters, obviously, to say the least, but I'm happy that we have a very large boat and lots of crew members here. Or maybe it's a plane and our crew members are building it while we're flying, or however that works exactly. But thank you again, Luck, Sarah, Brad, Steve. Dan's washing dishes, but I guess in spirit.
That's a brilliant wrap up. And I just wanted, since we're at time, it's Carley again. Just wanted to say, echo Jason's thanks and say thank you to all of you. We're going to make next week much more participatory. I think part of this, and it had really been Petya and Jason's vision, was for this really to be kind of a virtual community. And we've had a lot of you know, surfacing questions through chat. I think next week we're hoping it will be more of an open forum, and if you're patient with us, you can give it a go with more folks off mute and off video. Petya, any final thoughts you came off before we sign off?
I just love the idea that this is the beginning of how we are building a mission-driven form of economic development in our own town. And I think that that's a very powerful launching off point for us as a community. And we're seeing so many incredible examples of how people have shifted, not necessarily away from being capital driven, but to bear in mind how local can mean many, many more things. And so that discovery period is what we're having right now. And it's very, very, it's a very motivating, inspiring moment for all of us just listening to the last 3 sessions. So please keep your comments coming in during registration to help us understand what are the things that are on your mind, what would you like us to talk about, and definitely opening it up more for a free forum of conversation.
We'll post the recording of this if you want to share it with others. And everybody, thank you again. Have a great week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.